The sanctuary stood solid, like a rock in the desert, and the tale of the wolf and foal began echoing past its fences. The clatter of tools faded into the chatter and whispers of folks trekking out to see them with their own eyes. The air carried a light whiff of fresh hay, mixed with dust kicked up by curious boots, and the woman smiled, feeling this was bigger than her. They renamed the place Shadow's Legacy Wildlife Center, a name that rolled off the tongue nice and heavy with the life lesson they'd taught. Empathy doesn't care about species or borders. But how would that change things out there? Researchers showed up, notebooks bristling with questions, cameras clicking like crazy. They wanted to crack what made the wolf protect the foal, a move that turned nature's playbook upside down. Papers hit journals tossing around cross-species empathy and compassion beyond instinct, while schools bussed in kids to learn from the pair. The foal galloped free in his pen, black coat gleaming like wet ink, and the wolf stayed close, his calm gaze saying he'd done his part. Can you picture the ripple effect? Support swelled fast. People sent letters, drawings, even cash to keep the sanctuary going. And this heartfelt animal story became a symbol of something we all need to remember. Sometimes the heart outshouts reason. Nonprofits leaned on it for conservation pushes. And the woman's video, now a full-on real animal doc, played at festivals, pulling tears and claps. "You won't believe what this wolf did," the trailer boasted, and it was true. Even folks who didn't care for critters stopped to watch. But there was more on the way. The woman, now sporting sun-earned wrinkles and a permanent grin, started training volunteers to tell the story right. She wanted the wolf's legacy to outlive him, for every visitor to carry a piece of that bond. The wolf, fully gray now, and the foal, a strong horse at last, lived out their days in peace, but their impact kept spreading, like ripples on a pond. Who hasn't dreamed of leaving a mark like that? And so, a story that started with a predator and prey in the desert turned into a beacon of hope. Sometimes the best teachers walk on four legs, don't they? So, what about you? Ever had an animal change your life? Drop it in the comments. The woman knew this story was too big to keep locked in the sanctuary, so she dug out a camera from her backpack and started filming. The sun beat down, making the wooden fences gleam like they'd been polished, as she narrated the saga of the gray wolf and the Mustang foal, the wise-eyed predator and the foal he'd saved against all odds. The wind hummed low, blending with the foal's timid whinnies and the wolf's soft grunts, like he was keeping an eye on the horizon without even knowing it. She pieced the video together over a sleepless night, the smell of burnt coffee filling her trailer, and uploaded it with a simple title: "What This Wolf Did Is Unbelievable." She had no clue what was coming. Within hours, the video blew up. Thousands of views skyrocketed to millions, comments popping off like fireworks. Is this real? I cried watching this, like if you love animals. Clips of the wolf licking the foal, then facing down coyotes, turned into a viral animal video no one could scroll past. Scientists jumped in, some calling it jaw-dropping animal behavior, others insisting cross-species empathy like that didn't add up. The woman laughed to herself. They don't know this wolf. Was the world ready for a shakeup like this? Universities fired off emails, begging for data. Biologists muttered about behavior never seen before, while nonprofits shared the video to drum up cash. The science world went nuts. Instinct, fluke, or something deeper? The woman popped up on live streams, spilling how the wolf turned caregiver, and the inspiring footage hit TV screens. The sanctuary started buzzing with visitors, the thud of boots on dirt becoming its new soundtrack. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? 'Cause fame brought heat. Folks looking to cash in started sniffing around, and the woman had to hustle to protect what mattered. The wolf and foal were doing fine, but the outside world was getting too loud for their liking. How do you keep that special bond safe under all those spotlights? The answer was taking shape right there, in a plan that had changed their lives, and plenty of others, forever. With the video circling the globe, the woman saw that fame's noise needed to turn into something solid for the wolf and foal. The sanctuary, once just a basic pen in the middle of nowhere, started to take shape. Donations poured in like rain after a drought, and soon the air rang with hammers and saws, mingling with the sweet tang of wildflowers sprouting nearby. It was a place built to honor their incredible bond, open stretches for the foal to gallop, his black coat shining in the sun, and a shady corner for the wolf to rest, yellow eyes always tracking his buddy. "They've earned this," the woman said, feeling the good weight of a dream coming true. The two were tougher now. The foal, legs steady at last, raced in loops, hooves thumping the ground like a drumbeat of life, while the wolf lounged, tail swishing slow, like he was giving the performance a nod. Even with a low fence between them, you could tell they felt each other. The foal pausing to sniff toward the wolf lifting his muzzle back. It was a friendship so wild no one dared mess with it. But trouble's got a way of showing up, doesn't it? One night, a loud crash shattered the quiet. Someone tried breaking into the sanctuary, aiming to snatch the foal for a quick buck. The alarm blared, lights slicing the dark like blades, and the wolf, despite his years, leaped his fence. Limping but dead set, he bolted to the foal's pen, growling loud enough to wake half the desert. The thieves bolted, tripping over themselves, and the woman got there just in time to see the wolf standing by the foal, both breathing in sync in the shadows. Who'd have thought he still had that fire? Next day, they beefed up the fence and added cameras to keep the scares away. The wolf trudged back to his spot, worn out but with a proud glint in his eyes, while the foal let out a soft whinny, like a thank you. The sanctuary became a symbol of something bigger, a place where their true connection could breathe free. But what would it leave behind for the world? 'Cause this story was far from over, and the old wolf's legacy was just starting to ripple out. The sky started to lighten, that gentle dawn glow turning the desert into a pool of molten gold. The woman was glued to the radio, heart pounding, while the guy trickled more water into the foal's mouth with a syringe, the little one's legs twitching faintly, like he was dreaming of running. The old wolf, drained from the coyote showdown, lay close by, muzzle on the sand but eyes still scanning. Then a sound sliced through, the thump-thump-thump of a helicopter closing in, fast, kicking up swirls of dust that smelled like dry earth and a shot at salvation. Help was here right in the nick of time. The chopper touched down a few yards off, its blades whipping up a gust that messed the woman's hair and made the wolf squint. Two vets jumped out, hauling a small stretcher and gear that clinked like hurried tools. They bolted for the foal, hooking up fluids, cold drops hitting his fragile veins. The little guy perked up almost right away, lifting his head with an effort that'd break your heart. The wolf watched, still as a statue, like he knew the worst was over. Would he get what was happening next? The woman and guy helped load the foal onto the stretcher, his light weight in their hands almost choking her up. As the vet team worked, she saw the wolf stand slow, limping more than before. He shuffled toward the chopper, sniffed the air, that odd mix of fuel and hot metal, and stopped, like he was saying goodbye. The foal was stabilizing, dark eyes glinting with a spark of new life. But what about the wolf? Was he getting left behind? The chopper lifted off with the foal aboard, the roar of the blades drowning out his weak whinny. The woman stayed on the ground, watching the wolf drift away, his shape blending into the long shadows of sunrise. He did all he could, the guy said with a half-sad smile. It was a tearjerker of an animal story, and it felt like the wolf's chapter was closing. Or was it? 'Cause the woman wasn't about to let that unlikely hero slip away so easy. Something in her gut said their bond had more to say. The sun was climbing high, baking the desert with heat that made the air wobble, when the woman decided she couldn't leave the wolf behind. He'd vanished into the gnarled shrubs after. The chopper took the foal, but she couldn't shake the image of him limping off, that lean body carrying the weight of everything he'd given. She grabbed the guy's binocle and tracked his crooked paw prints in the sand, the faint scent of parched sage rising as she went. She found him a couple miles out, slumped under a rock, chest rising too slow. "You're not getting away that easy, buddy," she whispered, feeling like this was a debt she had to settle. The wolf was fading, yellow eyes cloudy, but there was still a flicker in them, like he was saying, "I fought. She radioed for backup, and soon a rattling jeep rolled up, a vet with a crate and supplies in tow. The wolf didn't fight. Maybe he knew he was in good hands, and they lifted him gently, his rough fur brushing her palms like a promise of a fresh start. It was gut-wrenching to see such a fierce predator brought so low, but thrilling to think what lay ahead. Would he bounce back? At the sanctuary where they'd taken the foal, they set the two up in separate spots, close enough to sense each other. The wolf got food, water, and a shady nook, and bit by bit, his tail started wagging again, light as a breeze. The foal, fluids doing their magic, lifted his head to sniff the air, like he was hunting for the wolf who'd saved him. The woman hung around, jotting notes, marveling at how a hunting instinct had flipped into pure compassion. Ever had an animal change you from the inside out? Days turned to weeks, and the pair healed at their own pace. The wolf, fur shinier now, moved with a steadier stride, while the foal took wobbly trots in a pen next door. Their connection went beyond instinct, something the sanctuary folks swore they'd never seen. But how do you share that with the world? The woman had an idea, brewing, and it started with a camera and a story that'd leave everyone floored. That engine roar ripped through the desert like a knife through quiet, and the old wolf perked his ears, body stiff against the sand. It was a beat-up pickup, rattling over rocks, carrying a mid-30s woman with messy light brown hair and worn boots alongside a late-30s guy with a binocle slung around his neck. They'd been tracking wolves out there when they spotted something unreal. An old gray wolf lying next to a Mustang foal, surrounded by a sea of golden sand. The woman slammed the brakes so hard dust billowed up in clouds, and they stood there, jaws dropped, catching the sharp scent of baked earth mixed with something they couldn't place. "No way this is happening," the guy mumbled, but oh, it was. They stepped out slow, like they were scared to shatter the weird balance of it. The woman who'd seen her share of wild things felt a chill, not fear but pure awe. The wolf didn't growl, just stared, yellow eyes locked on them like he was saying, "Do something." The foal's breaths were shallow, looking like a rag doll tossed in the dirt. She grabbed the radio and called for a mobile vet unit while the guy rigged up some shade with an old tarp. Could they save the little one in time? The woman noticed something. The foal calmed down whenever the wolf stayed close, so in a wild hunch she rubbed her hand on the wolf's fur, catching that musky wild smell, and brushed it near the foal during a moment when his breathing nearly stopped. It worked. The little guy settled, like the wolf was his anchor in the storm. Who'd have guessed a predator would join the team? The guy chuckled. "This wolf's got better bedside manners than me." An unlikely alliance was born, and the clock was ticking. Night swept in with a cold wind that'd chill you to the bone, but their makeshift camp was up and running. The woman and guy kept watch over the foal, dripping water from a syringe while the wolf lay a few yards off, tail tapping the sand lightly. It was a story you wouldn't believe. Humans and a wolf all in it together. But trouble wasn't far off, was it? 'Cause out in the dark, some glinting eyes started peering their way. The next test for this little crew was creeping closer, and the wolf already seemed to smell it coming. Night clamped down on the desert like a heavy lid, the blackness swallowing everything except the crackle of the campfire the humans had lit. The wind carried a distant howl, but now it was a different sound that prickled the skin. The rustle of light paws, and the hoarse yips of coyotes circling the camp. The old wolf, who'd been resting quiet till then, shot up, fur bristling like an alarm had gone off inside him. His yellow eyes sliced through the dark, catching the fire's glow, and he planted himself between the foal and whatever was closing in. The foal, still weak, flicked his ears, picking up the tension in the air. Trouble was on the way, and the wolf knew it. The coyotes were hungry, their shadows flickering at the firelight's edge, the stale whiff of old kills drifting off them like a warning. 3 of them, lean and bold, edged closer, testing their luck. The wolf didn't flinch. He let loose a growl so deep it felt like it rumbled up from the earth itself, a sound that'd make your pulse jump, even if you were just watching. He stepped forward, his thin frame steady as a rock, a living shield for the foal. The woman held her breath, thinking, This wolf's unreal. The guy snatched a lantern and started yelling, arms flailing like a madman, while the woman banged a spoon on a metal pot. The noise rang out sharp and wild. The coyotes froze, thrown off by the chaos of light and sound. But the wolf didn't need their help. He lunged a bit closer, teeth flashing, and the smaller predators backed off, swallowing their pride. It was behavior no one's ever charted. A wolf guarding prey with the guts of someone protecting their own kin. Did he see the foal as one of his? The fire popped, tossing sparks skyward, and silence settled back in, thick as a blanket. The wolf stood there, chest heaving, until he was sure the coyotes had melted into the desert shadows. The woman and guy swapped a look, like, "Did we just see that?" The foal, feeling the calm return, let out a soft sigh, and the wolf finally flopped back down, worn out but on guard. What a bond, huh? Dawn wasn't far off, bringing the promise of help. But what was next for this duo that had already become a unit? In the heart of the Nevada desert, the sun blazed like an oven stuck on high, the silence broken only by the faint buzz of some stubborn bug. An old male wolf, his gray fur tangled with silver streaks and scars mapping out a life of grit, limped through the brittle shrubs. He wasn't the pack leader anymore, but those yellow eyes still flickered with a mix of strength and exhaustion. That's when he nearly tripped, almost literally, over a 3-week-old Mustang foal, skinny as a rail, legs folded like snapped twigs. The little guy, barely clinging to life, had a muzzle so dry it pressed against the hot sand. Anyone would have bet he wouldn't make it past that afternoon. But this wolf, he did something no one saw coming. Instead of baring his teeth or letting out that growl that sends shivers down your spine, he stopped. The air seemed to hold its breath as he sniffed the foal, his tail swaying slow, like he was mulling it over. Then, in a move that felt like the universe dropping a hint, he lay down beside the little one, his shaggy body brushing against that fading spark of life. The wolf's warmth, that earthy scent of damp fur he carried, became a shield against the chill creeping in with the night. Who'd have thought a predator could protect its prey like that, huh? The foal barely twitched, but you could sense something shifting. The wolf stayed put, eyes half shut, like he knew time was the real enemy here. No rush, no attack, just a stillness no one could pin down. Ever feel like an animal gets you better than most people? Well, out there in the desert, it sure looked like this wolf had turned into a guardian. Tossing instinct out the window, what came next? Let's just say he wasn't done surprising us. Night rolled in, and the sky lit up with stars that seemed to cheer for this odd pair. The wolf didn't budge, not a paw, and the foal started letting out these tiny whimpers like it was whispering, "I'm still here." It was animal behavior straight out of left field, something textbooks don't cover. Would he stick around to the end? But the desert's a tough place, and the foal needed more than warmth to pull through. The wolf, with that weathered look of someone who's seen it all, seemed to get that. His next move was about to leave jaws on the floor. The desert doesn't mess around, does it? That scorching sun was sucking every last drop of life from the little foal, while the old wolf, his gray fur dusted with sand, eyed him like he was sizing up a serious puzzle. The foal's muzzle was so parched it cracked, and the wolf, with some kind of know-how no one can explain, decided to step up. Nearby, tucked between some crooked rocks, was a puddle, those rare patches that show up after a quick rain and vanish fast. The wolf headed over, his paws scraping the dirt with a scratchy sound that cut through the quiet, and dipped his muzzle into the lukewarm water. But it wasn't for him. It was for the foal. He came back with his fur dripping, looking like a soggy mop on legs, the smell of wet earth mixing with the desert's dry bite. With a patience that'd make you want to cheer, he licked the foal's cracked muzzle, letting little drops trickle down slow. It was like an animal miracle unfolding. Frame by frame, each lick careful, like he knew just what the little guy needed. The foal shifted his head, weak but hanging on, that raspy breathing picking up again. Who's ever seen a wolf pull off a save like that? He didn't stop there. The wolf trekked back to the puddle again and again, tail swaying low, hauling water. in his fur like a pup playing in a sprinkler. Except this was life or death stuff. The effort was almost too much to watch, his lean frame shaking from the strain, but he kept at it. Picture it. This scruffy old wolf, caked in dirt, turning into an unlikely hero just to keep that flicker of hope alive. And the foal? He cracked his eyes open just a sliver. That back and forth lasted until the sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and purples. The foal was still frail, but those licks had nudged life back into him a bit. Thing is, the desert's a beast, and a puddle's not enough to seal the deal. Would someone show up to lend a hand? You'll see soon enough, 'cause the rumble of an engine slicing through the stillness was about to shake things up. The wolf and foal weren't alone anymore. Hey, ever stop to think what a predator might do when it stumbles across helpless prey? You'd figure it'd end badly, right? But out in the heart of the Nevada desert, a touching animal story flipped everything we thought we knew about. Instinct. It's one of those tales that'll tug at your heartstrings like an animal miracle that seems downright impossible, but happened for real. Today, I'm going to tell you about an old gray wolf and a Mustang foal, a friendship so unlikely. It went viral and left the world stunned. Ready to feel your chest tighten and maybe even mutter a, "You won't believe this," as we unravel this true connection? This real-life animal story kicks off with an act of compassion that defies nature's rules. Out there in the desert, under a sky that looks like it was brushed on by some cosmic artist, fate threw together two creatures that were never meant to meet. Not like this, anyway. It's moving, heartbreaking, and brimming with hope all at once. So grab a coffee, picture the sound of wind kicking up sand, and come along on this journey that'll show you how even a predator can turn into an unlikely hero.